This is a relay project.
Real Talk starts right now. Here's Ryan Jesperson.
Well, friends, Johnny, I was about to start with, if you've been paying attention to the headlines, but that's not how you start
kind of
an episode with this audience, because all this audience does is pay attention to the headlines and stay informed. So let me start fresh. As you have been paying attention to the headlines, nobody would blame you, and it's not, I guess, just the headlines, but going through your everyday life for being hyper aware of the impact of the war in Iran and what continues to happen in Gaza, and let's not forget what's happening in Ukraine and other parts of the planet, and the impact it's having on everybody's everyday life. I'm not here to bitch and complain right out of the gates, but my example on how international events are impacting us here at home. I popped in for the first time in a while at the filling station the other day.
I was just going to say, this is a gas combo.
Yeah, it's a gas combo, and it was the first time that I had seen gas in the home province, in our home province of Alberta, flirting with the $2 a liter
$1.75.
mark. Well, $1.93 where I filled up. It was $1.92.9 where I filled up yesterday.
Costco.
Got to get the premium. And anyway, but it was just one of those things, and I feel like it set the table for a conversation we're going to have today with Lynda Steele, legendary broadcaster. It feels like sort of Lynda has been sort of a trusted source of analysis in many different contexts over the course of her career as a 6 o'clock news anchor for many years, as a radio host, as a podcast host, now as a media trainer and a performance coach. When Lynda talks, people listen because they trust her perspective on things, and that's what we're looking forward today. We'll talk about what's happening in Iran and the Strait of Hormuz and the impact that it's having on Canadians every single day. I want to get into what that maybe means for the pipeline discussion. You know, there was a lot of talk about Mark Carney and Danielle Smith a number of months ago with this memorandum of understanding, and then of course all eyes kind of shifted over to British Columbia. Like, what are the chances that a new pipeline actually gets built? Is social license still a thing in BC? And if so, is there a chance of acquiring it, of securing it? Mark Carney, by the way, his 1 year anniversary as Prime Minister, the 1 year mark kind of passed about 10 days ago, as a matter of fact. And felt like a lot of people, our live studio audience, seems to be impressed with his performance through the first year.
Lefties.
You always, when you first started working for us about, I guess, coming up on probably 4 years ago, you always used to say to us, I'm not a political guy. I don't watch a lot of politics. Of course, you've leveled up in a big way. If you had to look back, and I'm putting you on the spot on purpose before we put Lynda on the spot or welcome her to the show, what's the one thing in Carney's first year that jumps out at you as significant? Was there like one statement, one moment, one deal, one non-deal?
I mean, I think the Davos speech was a big one for me, but I think just the way he hasn't been like welcomed with open arms. But it's weird to hear, like, recently, Pierre Poilievre, almost up to the line, almost singing his praises, it's saying he texts the Prime Minister personally, like just the getting along, which I think benefits Canada as a whole. I would say that just surprises me. The rhetoric, the bombs being dropped has toned down. Don't get me wrong. I still watch the live feed sometimes of them debating, and it's crazy how they talk in a debate and then out when they talk in the scrums. But just how he's turned the volume from like 10 down to, I'm going to say it's still at 7.5, but a little better.
Yeah. It'd be impossible in today's day and age, I think, to turn the volume
5?
down to get
never.
it past 5. But then again, who wants that? A little excitement in our lives, not making light of obviously the serious stuff. We'll get Lynda's take on all of this. Plus, if you know her, despite the fact that she's now paying property taxes in Vancouver and has a BC area code on her phone. Well, I'm assuming she does. She's been there a lot of years.
Nice.
Still just a hardcore Oilers fan. So we'll leave some time to talk about the Oilers as well. We're not going to leave her sitting here, her coffee getting cold. Let's quickly remind you that this episode of Real Talk happens with the presenting sponsorship of Rapid X Financial. Look what they've done with their website. Fresh look on the web, looking good at rapidxfinancial.com. A big shout out to them. You see all these tickers and you see the movement, and we don't have to, I think, explain to you that the crypto world moves fast, and that reiterates the fact that your trust in an exchange just simply can't be a gamble, and that's why we're proud to partner with RapidX Financial. We know them personally. They're a made-in-Alberta solution backed by the exact same experts behind those Rapid Cash ATMs that you've seen for 25 years whenever you're out and about. RapidX Financial makes it easy to get started with 3 ways to trade. They've got the physical crypto ATMs, pretty self-explanatory. The over-the-counter desk, if you could use a little human assistance or you have a discrete larger value trade you're looking to make. And then, of course, the secure online platform that we show you every single episode at rapidxfinancial.com. A special offer for you Real Talkers if you use the promo code Ryan50, and you'll want to keep that handy because you can use it again and again and again for 50% off fees on all of your online Interac e-transfer trades. That's Ryan50, all one word, 50% off fees. RapidX Financial is secure, it's registered, FinTrack registered, and it's non-custodial, meaning that they're not going to try to hold on to your keys. Anybody that's trying to hold on to your keys, if you know Bitcoin, you know that's a huge red flag. They've got you covered at rapidxfinancial.com. Again, the promo code Ryan50.
Oh, thanks to a few Real Talkers in the chat singing my praises. We went from 4 years ago, them yelling at me about geopolitics and not having my stats right, to them being like, you're part of Real Talk.
You're all grows up, John. You're all grows up. As we welcome back one of our favorites in our feature interview presented by Mercedes-Benz Edmonton West, longtime media personality and a good friend of the show, Lynda Steele. It is nice to see your face.
Good morning to you, Ryan.
I will say right out of the gates, Johnny says to me off camera, he goes, oh gosh, I love when Lynda's on. He goes, her lighting's great.
Aww.
Her audio's dialed in. Everything's perfect. Did I get ahead of myself? Do you have it? You must have a BC area code on your phone. You've been out there how many years now? Yeah.
100%. I've been here 15 years already, which kind of blows my mind. And I know we'll mention the Oilers later on in the show, but I had an opportunity to go to Edmonton a couple of weeks ago, emceeing a big fundraising event. And I went to an Oilers game, and it was the first time I was in that arena, and it's amazing. I just felt like a kid in a candy store.
Did they win for you? What game were you at?
No, it was the first game with the 3 new guys from Chicago.
Oh, yeah.
And they did pretty well until the third period, which seems to be what happens with this team lately. They kind of, pooped the bed right near the end there. And, oh, well. It was a fun game until they lost.
We probably don't have to wait to talk about the Oilers. This,
okay.
We'll just gather for an hour every single day, Real Talkers. We just talk about what's on our hearts and our minds, and I'll tell you what's on a lot of people's minds right now. I hate to jump right to this, Lynda. I don't want to jump right to the controversy. There's a lot to talk about, right in the moment, and the team's quest to return to the Stanley Cup playoffs, return to the final, get Connor his first ring. But I got a note from a couple of buddies yesterday. They've just received their renewal notices. So season ticket holders now are being asked, so you pay for basically the playoff run up front, and then they've also been notified what next year's season ticket prices are looking like. And what I'm about to tell you, Lynda, is year over year. And so every single year, the prices get cranked up. So these numbers are on top of the cranking up that happened last spring into last summer. So playoff tickets are up 15% over last year. And next year's season tickets are up 20% over this year. Can you believe it?
Does Daryl Katz really need more money?
Well, the
Is
poor
he not
guy
rising up the ranks of the billionaire charts in Canada?
Yeah.
I don't know that that's necessary. Yeah, it's a great arena. The product right now, I don't know what's happening with the Oilers. I kind of feel like, a couple of years ago when they made it on that deep, deep run to Game 7, they played so well. That was so exciting. I couldn't even sit down to watch the games. I'd be jumping up and down in the bedroom, yelling. My husband would be like, shut up in there. It was so exciting. And then they didn't quite get her done. So we thought they're going to do it, last year. And then that was the most frustrating run to watch. Yes, they made it really deep again, but they were inconsistent, and the games weren't as fun. You just didn't have as much confidence that they were going to get it done and win. And then this year, I keep waiting for them to catch fire. You know how they'll lose a whole bunch of games and then boom, they'll run, they'll win like 20 in a row. That hasn't happened. And I'm perplexed. Like, what is going on? Yeah, there's been a ton of injuries. Yes, we had some coaching changes. But it just feels like they lost steam this year. And my only consolation is that the Panthers are also struggling. And I don't even think the Panthers are going to make the playoffs, right? So that's the only thing that makes me feel good right now.
Yeah. I guess I take a little bit of solace in that, in the Panthers also sucking. It's been a weird year, right? I think it was the Jets and the Capitals that led the conferences last year. It's looking like they could both miss the playoffs as well, which would be the first time in NHL history that that's happened.
Leafs.
The Leafs as well. We take a little solace in what's happening with the Leafs, I guess.
Yeah, that's true.
You never really want to celebrate the injuries. Austin Matthews out for the rest of the year. You never want to celebrate that just for karma purposes. Hey, I'll reference some reporting, by the way, in the Daily Hive out of Vancouver, actually, dailyhive.com. People can check it out. Edmonton Oilers owner Daryl Katz' wealth exploding, they say, on the ranking of Forbes billionaires for 2026. So check this out. The Oilers owner, over the past year, wouldn't this be nice, has amassed a whopping $1.4 billion over the last year, which jumps him up 63 spots on the list of billionaires with a $7.2 billion fortune. He's now 542nd on the list. You imagine being worth $7 billion and you're only 500
You know what?
and some
You
on the
could
list.
never spend that money in your lifetime.
No.
Even if you gave $1 billion to each of your kids, and I don't know how many it has. I've seen the one kid with the curly hair who shows
a couple,
up at the drafts.
Harris and his son. Yeah.
I mean, you could give them all $1 billion. They couldn't even spend $1 billion in their lifetime. So does Daryl Katz need to make more money? I don't think so.
They could give us $1 billion.
Am I
We could
glad?
see if we could
Well,
spend
sure.
it.
You, me, John, we could each have $1 billion. That would be wonderful. Hey,
take
see,
$1
now
billion.
we're all rich. So just turn it off. We're all canceling the show. Everybody's rich.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't get it. He's an interesting character, though, because when I was in Edmonton, big fan of the Oilers, always doing stories on them. The sports guys were mad. You're mowing our lawn. But I was interested in what was happening. And I tried to get Katz to come on and talk about that arena 10 times, put in request. No, yeah, and no. So then he asked Gordon and I if we would throw out the pitch at a baseball game, the opening night. And so we went, and there he was sitting with one little sort of theater rope in between us. We're like, oh, there he is. I'm going to be able to talk to him. And he wouldn't even look at us. I could have touched his shoulder. He didn't want to talk to us, didn't want to have anything to do with us. We were throwing out the pitch for him with the global cameras and everything. He just is an interesting character.
Yeah.
He doesn't need media, doesn't want media. He's going to do his own thing.
Yeah, and you sort of you see this with a lot of very successful people where I'm talking financially, where people are like, well, how do you it's like you heard that the really wealthy person left a really shitty tip at a restaurant, and then everyone goes, well, how do you think they got so wealthy?
Well, they pinched all their pennies, but it has a lot to do with the team. Last year, Oilers most profitable in terms of, if you think of operating income for Oilers is like 250 mil, something like that, and I think they made double that last year. So them and the Leafs at the top they sell so much merch, Ryan, and t-shirts and hats, and then you've been to a game. We don't even have to talk about it, how expensive the beer and the popcorn and everything is. So,
well, if you sort of want the definitive source on wealth and wealth reporting,
that was last
I think,
year's
so
stats,
you can check this out. But Lynda, you've seen this, so I'll reference Forbes.com. By the way, it was not my intention to just pile on the home team right out of the gates, but it's just this is literally yesterday. Everybody got their renewal notices, so it's front of mind. So the number one most profitable sports teams, we're talking on planet Earth. Number one is the NFL's Dallas Cowboys with an operating income of about $630 million, a value of $13 billion, if you can wrap your mind around it. The second most profitable sports team on planet Earth is Steph Curry's team, the Golden State Warriors, operating income around $410 million, a value of $11 billion. And look at this, the third most profitable sports franchise on planet Earth. We're talking over the New York Yankees, Manchester United, whatever league you want to talk about. The Edmonton Oilers tied for third with a value of $3.2 billion, operating income of $244 million. They're tied with the LA Rams in the NFL. So it gives you a sense. The thing that I think is wild too, and Lynda, you've always had a really strong sense of community and sort of the fan base. And I think a lot of people would have loved to hear you interview Katz back in the day, because you would have come at it from maybe more of a human angle than just a simple, and I'm not taking away from sports reporters, but they're going to focus a lot on the sports. We'll talk about the community. In Edmonton, it's a really interesting dynamic because a few things can be true at the same time. Number one, it is true that had Daryl Katz not bought the Edmonton Oilers, they could have moved. It's also true that without his vision and some of his investment, that Ice District and Edmonton's downtown revitalization would not be where it is right now. There's still a long way to go with that, but he has been a driving force and a visionary behind that. That's a fact. He's been willing to spend a lot of money on the roster of the team to try to surround Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl with talent. A relatively, I won't say a fruitless effort to this point, but a discouraging effort to this point. People still wonder if Connor might leave in a couple of years if he doesn't win. But here's the point I really want to get at is that the arena and the surrounding area and some upcoming big capital investments, infrastructure builds that are coming up over the next while have happened with a lot of community support, a lot of investment. Governments meeting OEG or meeting the Katz Group where they're at, and government's ponying up hundreds of millions of dollars as well. And I wouldn't blame the average fan from kind of feeling like, the public and the public purse has been open and has facilitated a lot of this development. And to me, it's just, I can't think of any other business. Like, I like to spend a good amount of my disposable income out at local restaurants, love to go to local retailers. I can't imagine any business year after year after year after year after year with 15 to 20% price increases annually still selling out.
Well, I mean, right from the word go, and I've been going to the Oilers games since like the late 80s. The fans have loved that team. The fans have supported that team. They've bought the merch, as you were saying. When I was at that game, I was staying at the JW Marriott, and I walked downstairs to meet some people for a drink before we walked over on the Pedway. It was jammed to the rafters with people wearing Oilers jerseys. And it was so exciting to be in my tribe again, finally, The Edmonton Oilers fan in BC is not all that fun, But to be in amongst all the people who are as thrilled about the team as I am, just walking through, seeing the hoopla, it was almost like a playoff game with bands playing. Everyone was wearing a jersey, a toque, some kind of merch around their neck. So, yeah, I mean, I think the reason Katz continues to raise the prices is because he can.
Yep.
I mean, the Oilers are the hottest ticket in town, and they always have been.
Tracy D in our live chat, powered by Park Power, says, I know some people who just simply don't take yearly vacations. Their money goes to Oilers games. Says there will never be a shortage of people wanting to buy those tickets. A lot of comments in our chat right now about fans being gouged. Don is saying that, like, does Katz really need to gouge the fans? Jill says maybe the city of Edmonton, province of Alberta, shouldn't be giving Katz hundreds of millions more. Maybe invest in housing, arts, small business, education, healthcare. And I know what the politicians would say right now. They would say it's a strategic investment. There's going to be a return on that investment. There are housing angles to some of the investments around the fan park or promises here or there. But I would say, if nothing else, the optics on it are really tough.
Yeah, but you know what? This is my honest observation. When I came through Edmonton and I was going in the Uber up the hill by the, what is the hotel that has the turning, the
the Chateau Lacombe.
What is that called?
Chateau
the Chateau Lacombe. And I was thinking, oh man, it was just looking really worn out, rusty and dirty, and just looked like it hadn't had a facelift in, over a half a century. And it seems to me that the crown jewel of downtown right now is that whole Ice District. That's where the energy is. That's where people are going. And around the periphery, you see some boarded up restaurants and, tatted kind of looking things. So it does kind of feel as someone who lived there for my whole life and then comes back sort of infrequently, you see little changes. And I think that Ice District was a really good, big change that I think should be celebrated and supported, because right now that seems to be the thing that's keeping Edmonton going.
Yeah.
I love Ice District. We're right in it, right?
It's great. We're right in the heart of it.
But the second that arena opened, you just noticed the first thing was the ticket prices. And nowadays, like, I'm going to the game Saturday with my mom. She's like, can I send you $100 for pay for half the tickets? I'm like, Mom, our tickets were $7. Like, what are you talking about? $100. Keep your money, but buy us the $40 popcorn when you're there.
With her $100. Yeah, I was going to say she could buy you a round of drinks.
Wait a minute. How much were the tickets?
700 about, with tax.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
$700
for two
per ticket?
For two.
Yeah.
Well, that's
a lot of money.
That's because it's not. I mean, roughly, anecdotally, I mean, it's always different, Lynda. But I would say like what was like a normal price. I mean, it's not normal. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But during the Cup run last year, like round one in the playoffs, it's easily $1,000 a seat, no matter where you're sitting. Maybe way up in the upper deck. No offense to the upper deck. Maybe you're getting them for $750 per, maybe. And I will tell you this, it never came to fruition, but here's a little, I'll share this publicly for the first time, John, against my better judgment, Lynda. So I thought if the Cup final, it was looking like it could go to Game 7 last year. Game 7 would have been in Edmonton. Unfortunately, it didn't. It ended in 6 in Florida. But I thought, I got to get in on this like as a commodity, like as an investment. So I went on a secondary site on an app, and I bought 2 seats right on the center line, 6 rows up behind the bench. Okay.
Yeah.
$15K for the 2. So $7,500 a seat. And my whole plan, like I called our bookkeeper, like our company's bookkeeper. I said, heads up, there's about to be a big transaction that goes through. And I said, like, our game plan will either be, I mean, hey, listen, if they're coming back for Game 7 and it's looking like Connor might win his first Cup and we're 6 rows up watching him skate around with it, maybe, like Tracy D was just talking about there, maybe with apologies to my kids, maybe that'll be our vacation this year, and maybe we'll just sit in those seats. But bigger picture, and I was telling Johnny this, how many millionaires down in Florida are willing, especially with a strong U.S. dollar, to pay double that for the ticket. So I'm thinking I'll sell these for 40 Canadian and I'll go sit in the upper deck myself. Anyway, long story short, never came to fruition. Got the refund on the tickets, never happened. But if you want a perspective check on what the market looked like, people are paying thousands per seat just to get into the building. I mean, it's wild. And the fact of the matter is most people are totally priced out. Yeah, I guess so. To me, it's also just kind of, we don't have to obsess on this all day, but it just like it feels insulting to the fan base. It really does.
Well, because the people who have really kept that team alive are not the billionaires. They are the average people who are working kind of jobs that pay 50 grand a year or less. They're people who are diehard fans who've been watching the Oilers since the beginning of time when they went into the NHL. That's the fan base that you want to protect and support because they're the ones who have lifted that team up from the beginning.
Mm-hmm. Meantime, there's Jillian in our live chat who simply says, my money goes to Disney. Mickey never disappoints. You never leave crying unless you eat too many snacks or pay too much for merch.
That's some expensive food though at Disney World too. That's a good comparison. Like you go out there and you're like, yeah, well, the price to get in, the admission isn't that bad, but then the hotel and the food and the mini ears and all this stuff is just wild.
They getcha. Whitream says the organization doesn't care about the fans. It's a business. They're there to make their money and give nothing back. That from Whitream. You and I both have a lot of friends that work in the organization. I guarantee you that there are people in the organization that do care about the fans. But the ownership group, I mean, I think also, I hate to put it this way, but the Connor Leon era, that's a limited window. And you see a lot of sports teams, it's probably like, get it while the getting's good and make the money while you can kind of idea.
The other thing, too, is that we have some of the best players in the entire league in Edmonton, and they have chosen to stay there. Connor McDavid could have just said, hey, forget it. I'm going to another market that will pay me more money, have a lower tax rate or what have you. Leon Draisaitl, these guys, I mean, we're lucky that they're really good friends, too, because I think that helps keep them within the circle of Edmonton where they're satisfied to be there because their life is basically getting up, being with your wife, and then going to the rink. But those guys could play anywhere. Anybody would want to have them on their team, and they play in Edmonton. So I think the fans have to remember that as well when they're pooping all over people like Bouchard or whatever. I mean, good Lord, the guy should be in the running for the Norris Trophy. But people are like, oh, he's not that good, and he's a terrible defensive defenseman. Well, he's right at the top. I think he's in the top 10
He's a top scoring D-man all year.
All players, right?
Yeah, no, he
so
is.
Edmonton has to remember, too, that I keep saying we like as though I still live there because it's in my heart. Edmonton is lucky to have the caliber of players that it has had right from the beginning. Connor McDavid, I think, is a good representative. He's calm. He's doesn't embarrass the city, does a good job. He's passionate, comes to the rink every day to play. Same with Leon. I mean, the team is stacked with really, really talented players. We just need to get that damn cup.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Lynda, you can steal. You don't have to use the poop talk on the show.
Okay.
But I was just going to say,
Try not to be too.
Lynda's totally right.
Keeping it
I mean,
classy.
we're very lucky that we were talking about this on Saturday when we were not dreaming. We were envisioning where Connor might go, maybe go to LA or something if they don't win a cup this year.
We're not trying to manifest it.
Not at all.
No.
But the thing that's going to stop him is that close knit. Like those guys are spending all their time together off the ice. Draisaitl, Nuge,
Nurse,
Hyman. They are all best friends off the ice, and that's probably why Connor's never going to leave.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. By
You
the
think
way,
he's never going to leave?
oh,
Unless that core gets broken up, I don't see him going and starting all like he's so comfortable, right? And he wants
that might be the problem.
Lynda, you're right. He's a thoughtful man. He's a thoughtful person, and I think he wants to win number one for those guys, and then the city second. Like I think he wants to win for his friends. I think he wants to hand that cup to Nuge. You know what I mean? He doesn't care.
Yeah.
It's not for himself.
I agree. I mean, I think he wants to win it in Edmonton for sure. But I also think that if things don't change, and I don't really know what the problem is, I can't diagnose it. Now everybody's jumping all over Knoblauch. Knoblauch should be fired. He's a terrible coach. It was like, all right, he took us to the Stanley Cup final twice, 2 years in a row. So is he a terrible coach? Is that what's going wrong? I don't know. It feels right now like the team's not buying in. I don't know why. There's moments where they're like their old selves, and then there's a bunch of sort of, wishy-washy stuff where you're going, where is my team? Where are my Oilers? So I do kind of feel like, given all of their ages, I wondered when Connor signed that short-term contract, was it partially because he was trying to free up enough cash for them to put the other pieces in place to give them a legitimate chance to win the cup? Or was it because he thought, damn it, we're going to win that cup in the next 2 or 3 years, and then I'll be gone, and then this is Leon's team, and then he gets to be the captain, and I'll go somewhere else. Because they're both, what are they, 29 or something?
Something like that,
They're
30 and
getting
29.
close to cresting over 30, and so time is, kind of running out for them all. This is their prime time. This is when they want to win. And you're right. I think they want to win it as that core team. But then everybody's jumping on Nurse. Fire Nurse. Get rid of Nurse. So Nurse is going to waive his no move clause. I don't understand why the fan base is just so vitriolic. They will just jump on someone. I mean, the fans basically ran Skinner out of town. And I will be the first to admit he was inconsistent. But now if you compare him to Jari, holy crap, come on back, Stu. I think part of it had to do with the fans just down his throat all the time.
Mm-hmm. By the way, Evan Bouchard, 12th in league scoring, not for defensemen.
Crazy, right?
First in league scoring for defensemen as we speak. A remarkable season for Bouch. I'm a big fan of Bouch. I know that,
I am too.
It's kind of funny. Like you alluded to it. Everyone's like, he could be a point a game. He's over a point a game, which is wild from the blue line. Then everyone's like, he's not the greatest defensive. It's like, what do you want from the guy? Like he's going to have 90 points this year as a defenseman. Anyway, I digress. So we'll see what happens. Don't get me wrong. If this team is on another run to the cup, I will be there for it, face painted, making noise. We hang out our window here at the historic Mercer Warehouse. You got to come in studio next time you're in town, Lynda. The rink is, 50 meters away. But obviously, we hope for the best. Johnny and I both work for the team. We love the team. It's just incredibly frustrating. And I guess something can be shocking and not surprising at the same time. That was my response to the increase in ticket prices that was sent out. I believe it was yesterday sent out. It just blew my mind. What are you paying at the pump, by the way? You're right in the heart of Vancouver.
Last time I checked, it was about $2.15 a liter.
Jeez.
With talk of it potentially going to $2.70. I mean, it's just crazy. And I know BC is in such a weird spot because we don't have refinery capacity here. So we end up getting a certain amount from Alberta, and then we have to buy some from Washington State. So if there's a refinery down in Washington State, then gas prices go up. Plus, we have a ton of taxes. Just our TransLink tax alone is something like 16 cents a liter. And then you stack on all the other taxes and GST and PST and whatever. And it's just crazy expensive. And whenever you talk about it here and say, oh my God, the gas price is just unbelievable, you'll get someone who say, yeah, we'll take the bus or walk. It was like, I do. I sold my car 8 years ago. I'm worried about the price of gas because it inflates the price of everything, food, deliveries, services, and what have you. It's just not good news when the price is that high and we have absolutely no idea if and when it's going to come down. Because even if this stupid war in Iran is, there's going to be some sort of ceasefire or whatever, and it'll be over and Trump turtles and goes home, it's still going to have a hangover effect that'll probably last for the rest of the year and into 2027.
Yeah.
People are squeezed. They just can't afford more. $2.15 a liter for gas is crazy.
Well, and there's a lot of people that don't have a choice but to drive. And then, to state the obvious, the price of fuel. I heard a financial analyst talking yesterday. He used the word insidious. He said the integration of oil into the economy is insidious because it just impacts absolutely everything, right? Transport, truck, just like everything, and it's wild. And the war, as it stretches on, I think it's, more and more people. It's been interesting to see global leaders, as an example, start to speak out more strongly against it. And at the beginning, and I know that the Prime Minister, I want to talk to you about Mark Carney's first year, but, out of the beginning basically said, we support Israel's right to defend itself, we'll support our allies, that sort of idea, to now Canada joining France and many other nations saying, like, we are not there and we absolutely will not be there. And then you've got Trump now calling NATO a paper tiger and saying that now all the heavy lifting's done, now they want in, we don't need them. It's just getting more and more messy with every passing day.
Well, and in fact, I was reading today that Saudi Arabia is now pressuring Trump not to end the war. They're saying this is a historic opportunity for them to remake the Middle East. And they don't want Trump to tackle and sort of pull out because of the stock market or gas prices or whatever. They want him to stay and bomb and bomb and bomb Iran until they're actually legitimately are obliterated. So that's concerning because Trump is someone whoever is the last person in his ear has a whole lot of influence. And at this moment, I feel like Trump is making up his war plans on the back of a goddamn napkin.
It sure feels like it. I don't know if you saw this interview with I wanted to put this in front of the audience. Jeff Sachs is a professor emeritus at Columbia University. He did an interview on the Judging Freedom podcast, and he talked about this as a war of naked aggression. But listen to how he describes Trump and Netanyahu. This is a Columbia University professor.
There's no question in anybody's mind, that this is a war of naked aggression by two individuals. I would add parenthetically two mentally unstable individuals. This is not a war where people debate, is this Iran doing this? Is this American Israel doing this? It's very clearly understood that this is a war of naked aggression without any justification whatsoever. Interestingly, it seems to be strongly supported within Israel, which is a country absolutely under a complete wall of propaganda.
Pretty wild stuff.
Well, you know what? I think he's right. I do kind of feel like they're both mentally unstable to some degree. This is my gut feeling on why Trump decided to be pulled in. I do feel like Bibi sort of dragged him in. And the New York Times had a story the other day that said the head of the Mossad convinced Bibi that this would be zippity-doo, go in, you're out, it's all over in a couple of days. And so Bibi went to Trump, and Trump was sucked into it. I think Trump thought that it was going to be like Venezuela, that all you have to do is just send the military in. There's going to be a precise strike. It's going to be over, and they'll be out within 24, 48 hours. And it'll be a huge victory for him because he was looking to turn the page from the Epstein files, turn the page from, his dropping poll numbers, and turn the page from the fact that prices were not coming down because he is obsessed with picking a fight with people around the world. I mean, if it's not bloody Iran, he's still talking about going after Cuba, to the point where Cuba is saying that they've had to come up with a military plan because they're afraid of being invaded by the US. And I'm thinking, for God's sakes, you've got so many, irons in the fire, so to speak. Why don't you just deal with he should have just dealt with the economy, because that would have given him the best chance leading up to the midterms to potentially not be wiped out in the Senate, at least. Probably still would have lost the House. But no, Trump is, I don't know, for the president of peace. And by the way, whatever happened to his board of peace? Where the hell are they? Why are they not, doing warships into the Strait of Hormuz? What happened to them? I don't get it.
Yeah, well, as
so
everybody says now,
like Trump took a gamble and he lost.
Yeah, sorry to step on your toes. They say the board of peace grew bored of peace. And I think that's what happened. Did you hear? So Steve Bannon the other day is talking about, talks about ICE and the role that ICE can play, and said it's wonderful that the president has. I'm paraphrasing, but he basically says it's great that Trump has manifested this. He says because now they can have ICE agents at midterm polling stations to make sure, right? Saying the quiet part out loud, which is wild.
Are you watching the video? I'm sure you are. You see these ICE agents. I kind of feel sorry for them because I don't think they know what they're supposed to be doing at these U.S. airports either. They're walking around, at least they're not wearing the masks. But it was pointed out on a broadcast last night that, okay, even President Trump, who did a Truth Social post saying he would like ICE to not wear masks at the airport because he didn't think, that was appropriate. Well, even he's acknowledging that it's inappropriate in certain circumstances for law enforcement to be wearing masks. What's the difference if they're at the airport or if they're on the streets in Minneapolis? And here, this was another situation where somebody said, oh, I give ICE 5 hours before they're, throwing somebody to the ground at an airport, and boom, that's exactly what happened. And that poor woman was screaming. She said she's an American. ICE was all over her. I mean, I haven't seen much more than that one video, but it's already a basic, all right, I'm going to swear now, it's a shit show at American airports, where even today in New York at LaGuardia, there's lineups that are in a U shape saying it's going to take you a minimum of 2 to 3 hours just to get to the counter. What a nightmare.
Yeah. Oh, man. By the way, on a side note, you can't say LaGuardia right now without just acknowledging what happened there. How brutal is that? I mean, I don't know what you say. I mean, at this point, you and I are not, crash investigators, anything along those lines. But, we do know now the identities of the pilots that were killed. I'll reference here reporting it with the Toronto Star. This is a shot of Antoine Faure in his 30s, came up as a bush pilot. There's these stories of how he would tell his grandmother that he wanted to be a pilot ever since he was a little kid. And he was flying into these remote locations, flying bush planes before he got on with Air Canada. Then his first officer was a brand new graduate, a graduate of about 3 years ago from Seneca College. They've got their flags at half staff this week. Mackenzie Gunter, who was the co-pilot on that Jazz flight. Amazing to me. There are a few. I mean, these two pilots are being credited with doing whatever they could to save the lives of everybody else on board. Pretty remarkable stuff. Michael Orsillo and Adrian Baez are the two firefighters that were amazingly not killed. when the plane crashed into that fire engine on runway 4 there at LaGuardia. And how about the story of Solange Tremblay? Did you hear this? She was the flight attendant.
Yeah.
They found her Lynda, think about this, 100 meters away from the plane, still strapped into her seat.
Yeah, and apparently her legs are just fractured in a million pieces. The one thing that I did hear and read this morning in the New York Times about that crash, it's possible those two young pilots didn't even see that fire truck coming because they're saying that the Air Canada plane was going about 170 kilometers an hour when that fire truck came in front of them. They said they were probably, looking at their gear, their gauges and what have you, because they were in the process of a dynamic move of landing, right? Nobody would expect a fire truck to come across the tarmac. So they probably didn't see it. They said that particular type of flight that Air Canada, that plane has, the nose actually tilts down a bit so that they can bring stairs out from the side in, smaller districts where you can't go to an actual gate. And so the nose was actually dipped down already, which would have given them basically zero chance. So we can only hope that they didn't see it coming. And for the passengers they were interviewing who survived that crazy crash, I think there was about 41 people who were injured. They said there was a little bit of trouble getting out, but you can understand why. Both of the pilots are dead, and one flight attendant has been thrown out and is 100 yards or meters away. So the passengers had to kind of figure it out by themselves. There was literally one flight attendant left to navigate all these injured passengers. And I also read that there were only two air traffic controllers on duty when that happened at LaGuardia, one of the busiest airports in the world. And there were only two because A, there's already a shortage of air traffic controllers right across North America, and B, because of this stupid government shutdown where they're not paying TSA workers, some of them are not coming into work. So this guy who actually said on the radio, "I messed up," can you imagine being that air traffic controller who was trying to navigate planes in the air, planes on the ground, emergencies with the fire truck heading to another plane that had a weird odor in it and they thought there was a fire? That guy's going to be haunted for the rest of his life.
He will be. And I was, I was saying this to you, Johnny, after we signed off the show yesterday. And I'm not a lawyer. I'm not whatever. And I know that this isn't like the biggest point to be made. But I thought, gosh, those words that he uttered in the moment, "I messed up." If he could take those back, right? Like putting that on the I don't know. Who knows whose fault it is? Investigators will do their thing. I think at the end of the day, anecdotally, we're not investigators. I want to be clear, but anecdotally, they had cleared the fire truck to cross that runway. They had cleared it, and he's trying to call it back, but who knows what was happening in the headsets of the firefighters. Maybe they were having, you don't know. And everybody's saying, listen, like 10 times out of 10 at an airport, the aircraft has right-of-way on the runway every time, and that's a fact. That's true. Just a really, really difficult situation.
Yeah, it's super tragic.
Like Lynda said, the amount of mental gymnastics you're going to when it's two people running an entire airport as busy as LaGuardia, that is just it shouldn't be happening. And plus, I've been reading every day about this. There's hundreds of people quitting because they're overstressed. Plus, they're hiring less because they've slashed all these DEI policies that allowed them to fill all the empty spots, and it's just causing this vacuum. And everyone's stressed, underpaid. It's really dangerous.
Yeah. A lot of people are saying that this is basically Doge. Remember that Department of Government Efficiency saying that this. It's just brutal. And then there's Trump, talking to bring it back to ICE agents at the airport. I'm not sure if you heard this. You want to grab the paperclip clip? Have you heard this? Did you hear this? It's not like I don't mean to transition to laughing after just talking about that, but like I don't know what you do anymore if you can't laugh at some of this. Life's going to be just too heavy. But here's the president of the United States not just defending ICE agents at the airport, but taking credit for the entire entity itself. Here's Trump.
Whose idea was that to put ICE at the airport?
We're dealing really.
Whose idea was it?
Mine. That was mine.
And can I ask you,
That was like the paperclip. You know the story of the paperclip? 182 years ago, a man discovered the paperclip. It was so simple. And everybody that looked at it say, why didn't I think of that? ICE was my idea.
Just like the paperclip, Lynda. Just like
you know what? The second something goes wrong, Trump's going to throw someone else under the bus. He'll completely forget that he said it was his idea. In fact, he will argue that he didn't. It was someone else's idea. He's now apparently throwing Pete Hegseth, the head of the Department of War, or whatever they're calling it now. He's throwing him under the bus, saying publicly, well, the decision to go to war against Iran, that was really Pete's idea, wasn't it, Pete? You said, let's do it. You were the first one. And everybody's kind of going, Hegseth is sitting there like, Trump wants all the credit and he doesn't want any blame for anything. And he will just lie if it turns out that he said something and it was going to come back to blow back on him. He'll just say, I didn't say that. You can play the video. He'll still say, I didn't say that. And here's the thing. 92% of MAGA, just polled in the last 24 hours, still support the war against Iran, still fully behind President Trump. So Trump sees those numbers and goes, yeah, I've got full runway to do whatever I want.
Yeah, maybe not sure why they support it. They just know they support it. Chevy, who's watching our live stream right now, presented by California Closets on Facebook, joining in on the live chat with the most important message today. Let's acknowledge, just says condolences to all of the families that were impacted. Yeah. And that's certainly where I think our hearts are right now for sure. Lynda, hang tight. In a minute, I want to ask you about your thoughts 1 year in. Mark Carney, 24th Prime Minister of Canada, your thoughts on, accomplishments to this point, work still to be, done, and maybe how it's changed the federal and even, of course, the international political landscape. We're talking to Lynda Steele in our feature interview presented by Mercedes-Benz Edmonton West. We'll also have to pick Lynda's brain a little bit on AI. That's coming up. And speaking of AI, on the 24th of February, we sat down with Carrie Williams from North Road Investment Council. Fascinating stuff from Carrie on how tech stocks are being pounded by AI, and ultimately great insight on what that could mean for your portfolio and what it should mean for your game plan moving forward. You can find the highlight on our YouTube channel. You can watch the full interview. That's our February 24th episode with Carey. And if what he said or the way he said it resonated with you, we recommend that you connect with Carey, Marshall, and the team at North Road Investment Council by visiting northroadic.com. This is what they offer: a steady hand, a studied voice to guide you through wealth and investing. Even if you've already got your investor, no problem. Never a bad move getting a second set of eyes on your investment strategy. That's one of the things they offer. Make sure you let them know you heard about it on Real Talk. They're going to offer you a special incentive. Again, that's North Road Investment Council at northroadic.com. Hey, we talked to Lynda about community. We talk about investing in our communities. Nobody's doing that more than UCAN Youth Services. We're so proud to partner with the team at UCAN as they help young people from age 12 all the way up to 25 out of harm's way onto paths of economic independence. And a big part of that is graduating workforce ready young people. They're safety trained, they're ready to rock, and of course they're motivated. If you're an employer and you're looking for entry-level, reliable, motivated staff, consider a partnership with UCAN Youth Services today. They've got a ton of organizations, including in the construction, retail, food service industries, that are finding, of course, not just a real boon to their workforce, but also candidates, new team members that are confident, professional, and have a real desire to succeed. You can connect with the team at UCAN today by visiting ucan.ca. And I connected with the team at Kubi Renewable Energy just the other day. As a matter of fact, it was at UCAN Comedy Nights. They're telling us their 2026 installation schedule is starting to fill up. So if your plan is to get solar panels up on the roof of your home, your business, even your barn, you're going to want to get in touch with Kubi today. It's a free quote. If you decide to give them the green light, the engineers are going to start working on your project so they can be up on your roof ASAP. You can get that free solar quote today by visiting kubi.ca. That's KUBY.ca.
I've changed my mind. I don't really like the paperclip. It's kind of an old-fashioned word, the paperclip. We love the stapler, though. We've got the stapler, the big red stapler on my desk in the office. We love the stapler.
That's pretty good. Over the 4 years here, the Trump impression's been getting better and better and better. Mark Carney, that was probably, I mean, I would say, if I say the reason he got elected, I mean, that might be oversimplifying it a little bit, but the ability to, or the perceived ability to deal with Donald Trump, so to speak, is probably the biggest reason why Mark Carney not just won the Liberal leadership and became prime minister, but then defeated Pierre Poilievre in the election. It's been a year and a week since Carney became prime minister of Canada. How would you assess the first year?
I think it remains to be seen how much traction he's going to get in terms of his trips all the way around the globe, trying to create new trading partners. He definitely has got the eyes of the world on Canada. I feel like he was super impressive in Davos. Everybody was saying, wow, standing ovation, that never happens. He got one because the fact that he was, an international banker, he already had some global relationships and the respect of other world leaders. So that was a shortcut to be able to get these meetings. And I think his message about the middle powers needing to band together, and because if they work together with trade deals, that's how they override a problem like Donald Trump or like, China. So I think he's doing the right thing. I think he's traveled an incredible amount. He has struck a bunch of deals. I feel like Canadians are still going, so show me the money. I think they're stuck saying, well, we still have interprovincial trade barriers. We still don't have a pipeline, another pipeline. So we want to see more action. We want to see more major energy projects going forward. Is it fair to expect the prime minister to be able to do all those things at the same time? I don't know. I mean, this is a super unusual time in history. We're living in very strange times. And I think Carney, is my opinion, is the right man for the time because of his global connections. He's clearly very bright. He clearly is got a financial mind. I think that he's the guy, but I also feel like Canadians are running out of a little bit of patience. And he's maybe got 6 more months to say, show us the money, show us where we're actually going to start to create more energy projects, shovels in the ground, that kind of thing. I guess if I had to give him a grade, I would give him about a B plus, maybe.
B plus. That's a sweet spot. I always felt as a high school student, if I could land in the B plus range. You're
not failing.
You're not failing.
There's room to grow.
Flying under the radar of the teachers is still room to grow. Of course, there's there's the kind of the flip side of Pierre Poilievre's reality and kind of the saga that has been his leadership and obviously the polling out of the gates where he was the prime minister in waiting and then all of a sudden he wasn't and then he loses his own seat and then he's got to eat some humble pie, I guess, and come out to Alberta and get a seat again and now kind of clawing his way back. Did you watch any of the Joe Rogan interview? I don't mean to talk about it for too long. We've been talking about it every day.
See it a
what
bit,
did you think?
And I think he did a good job.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, he didn't take the bait. He didn't crap all over Carney. He tried to sound, prime ministerial. I think he achieved his goals. I think he should have done that over a year ago. But I think he had decided that, no, let Carney do the elbows up. I'm the going to fight Trump guy. And Poilievre said, no, I'm going to do the economy. That's the thing that people care about. And he made a miscalculation because I think people were mad, are still mad at what America is doing to Canada, what the Trump administration is doing. So I find it really interesting that Poilievre is trying to change his image now after he was so resistant. I don't think Poilievre wants an election because based on polls that we're seeing, he would really get wiped out and lose a bunch of seats. So I think he thinks to himself, okay, this is going to be a rebuild of my image and my platform and my, plan forward, which he's been putting stuff out like with the car industry. And this is what I would do. I think that's what Poilievre should be doing, is not punching Carney in the head every 2 seconds, trying to present himself as an alternative so Canadians can go, okay. Because I think a lot of Canadians were okay with Poilievre and okay with conservative policies until we got into this Trump stuff. And then Poilievre started just getting really chippy and the Apple and the fighting with the media and really taking a page out of the MAGA book in a way. And I think that was a turnoff at a time where America was just smashing us over the head with a frying pan,
Yeah.
And I think he sees that now.
Yeah.
So I think he's doing the right thing now.
When I look back and I went through this exercise, I had an interesting stretch over the past few weeks. I spoke at 5 different schools. They just kind of, you know how that goes. Like you agree to do it, and then all of a sudden they're all jammed up and you're like, oh my gosh. So I did a school tour, but it was cool. I did a private school, a Catholic school, a public school, elementary school, high school, post-secondary. So I was talking to, and it kind of came up a couple of times, especially with the younger kids. They were like, do you have a favorite teacher? Did you think of your favorite? And I immediately was thinking of teachers that were tough but fair. And I would like to recognize your B+ as a tough but fair grade on Carney. And could you and I both agree, because you told us one of the criteria for the B+, not an A-, is that there's been a lot of talk about building, but not yet shovels in the ground. Recognize that consultations have to happen, collaborations, there's capital. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that has to happen, but the whole point was, and the whole promise was, that it would be expedited. That was the whole point of the major projects office in Calgary and everything else. And I would say this, I'm curious if you would agree that, that MOU, that remarkable moment where Mark Carney and Danielle Smith sit down and sign the MOU and they're smiling and they're shaking hands and everyone goes, wow, like, are we seeing a bridge built between Alberta and Ottawa right now? The cynics were saying from day one, if this doesn't turn into anything, if this doesn't materialize, if there's not a pipeline by the end of this, then it was a whole lot of nothing. And then the debate begins, who was trying to take advantage of whom in the public eye? Was it Smith or Carney trying to game it all? If a pipeline's not built through BC, it could swing at least sentiment in Western Canada in particular.
Yeah.
And I'm curious to pick your brain on where the appetite is in BC. And maybe that's too broad of a question, right? Because Vancouver and New West is not the same as Revelstoke, is not the same as Fort St. John. But where would you gauge British Columbians' opinion or appetite for another pipeline?
I would say that it's tepid, but not as cool as you might think. I think a lot of British Columbians are seeing, especially with this war, that we're not going to get off oil for a long time. And clearly the entire world is reliant on oil and LNG. And so I think we made a mistake. The Trudeau government made a mistake by going green too fast. I think they miscalculated that I think we're probably going to be really reliant on oil for at least another quarter century, maybe. That doesn't mean I think we should not be investing in green technologies and green energy sources, because that, I think, is the way of the future. But I feel like the First Nations are going to be the big problem. There's a lot of pushback, and in BC in particular right now, First Nations are feeling really emboldened by some court decisions, and they're sort of standing up and going, yeah, you're not getting that pipeline past us, and we're not going to approve it. Too bad. So I'm wondering then if, given the situation in Iran, how Trump has always said kind of that Canada doesn't really have any cards either. Well, now that the U.S. is worried about oil, worried about gas, worried about fertilizer, worried about rare earth minerals, hey, ding, 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 guess what? Canada has a whole ton of that. It would have seemed that we do have some cards. So maybe they can reopen negotiations and get the Keystone XL pipeline, get that one going first, because that would maybe pacify some of the loudest voices in Alberta saying, well, there is a pipeline, so there is a project. Do we need another one, to the coast in BC? Probably. But I think they need to really get going on LNG too. And I remember Christy Clark, when she was the premier, she had big announcements. We're going to have, 6 major LNG projects, and it's going to just be fueling our economy. And today there's one. And that was because, again, there wasn't buy-in, there was pushback. She was probably right. Maybe we didn't need 6 big LNG projects, but we could have used 3. And right now the world is really scrambling for LNG, and BC is shipping these tankers out to Asia. So I feel like this situation in Iran is going to help get some more social license in Canada for big energy projects that were being stalled over the last couple of decades.
We talked to W. Brett Wilson a week ago, And it was interesting. I was asking him about Alberta's separation and kind of how he's making, decisions on where he's investing, deploying his capital, so to speak. And he said that, number one, he was pretty clear. He said he's absolutely going to vote to keep Alberta in Canada. He said that he's continuing to invest in Alberta. He actually said on the show, people can check that out if they want. It was a week ago today. We talked to him. Said that the one spot he's not investing right now is British Columbia, and he said in particular, is it DRIPA, this Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples Act, and it's calling into question property rights and implications around land ownership and title. And I thought it was interesting to see City News reporting on this, other outlets as well, on your premier, BC's David Eby, essentially talking about the potential need, they're considering it, and he wouldn't use the word, but to weaken this, I would imagine in some part at least, due to the implications it's having on folks' confidence around investing in property and the like. Is this something that the average British Columbian is paying close attention to?
Oh, yes. And there's a lot of misinformation. And I think what's happening is the NDP is trying to have it both ways. So when it suited their purposes, and when Horgan, I believe it was Horgan who brought it in, when he was the premier, excuse me, he had a good relationship with First Nations and he wanted to do something historic. And so they brought in DRIPA and they had First Nations coming in right into the legislature, banging their drums and singing and what have you. And it was this all happy. And then Eby becomes the premier and he was carrying it on until this big court case came to light about property rights in Richmond, which is just outside of Vancouver, showing that a huge swath of properties that were owned by individuals, both private and corporate, were being claimed by an Indigenous band, the Cowichan, saying that's our territory, we claim that land. Now, my girlfriend's husband is the lead lawyer on that case, supporting the Cowichan band. So I've heard a lot from his point of view as well. And basically they're saying they're not trying to claim private property rights. They're not trying to take over your house saying, no, it's on our land, but they're trying to take any government kind of lands and saying, no, that you have to give it to us. But in the meantime, what's happened is people can't sell properties in Richmond in that affected area because some people can't even get mortgages because there's all of this, cloud of smoke around who actually owns the property. So I think Eby's freaking out. His polling numbers are dropping. He is saying, no, the court can't, step in and make decisions that around land rights. That's something the province should do. I don't know. It's a great big fat mess, and it's not the only one. There's a bunch of First Nations that are all sort of poised that also say, well, this is our territory and that's ours. And in fact, some of the First Nations are fighting each other saying, no, you're claiming that land, that's our land. It is an absolute hornet's nest, and I don't know how we get out of it. Everybody's mad. Nobody's happy at all.
Gilles in our live chat, powered by Park Power, your friendly local utilities provider, says there is a ton of disinformation about this, says, though I do find it funny. There's concern in BC over DRIPA, but in Alberta around separatism in independent Alberta doesn't cause concern. The date is looming. I don't know if you've been paying attention to this, but over the weekend, the separatists, they're collecting signatures. They're at highway rest stops along the side of the highway and the like as this October referendum looms. I know that you're obviously a passionate, I don't know if I call you a former Albertan. You're an Albertan living in BC. Maybe we'll put it that way.
That's the way to say it.
Yeah, maybe we'll wrap with this thought today as we thank you for your time, just where your head's at with it. And basically, I mean, is this something that people on the West Coast are paying much attention to? Or are they sneering and snickering at it? Are people really concerned?
No, I mean, I just think it's one more unstable, unhappy, ridiculous idea that is dividing Canadians. And I'm kind of surprised that there's, 20 to 25% support for this in Alberta?
Something.
Wow. I'm disappointed by that. I don't see how it's possible in any world that Alberta can somehow separate. Indigenous people have something to say about that, and so does the rest of the country. It doesn't make sense. And I feel like the mistake that Danielle Smith has made is in allowing it to even go forward. She should have slapped that down and said, listen, this is crazy talk, and Alberta's not going to separate. That's not going to happen. And frankly, right now, even though Alberta came out with that big deficit number the other day, look at at the oil prices. Suddenly, Danielle Smith's deficit problem is being solved by this stupid war in Iran. So I hope it tamps down. I don't think those separatists should be going to Washington and having meetings with people. That's crazy. I think British Columbians are watching it and going, I hope this doesn't go anywhere, and I don't think it will. That's where I'm at.
Yeah. I think it requires real talk, and I appreciate your take on it. How's business at Clean and Steel?
How's business?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, how's business?
Yeah. No, it's good. It's been very, very busy. And in the midst of doing the media training and performance coaching, I'm also just about to launch a podcast myself.
Hey!
Called Change My Mind. It should be up in about the next couple of weeks, but I'm excited about it.
You want to tell us a bit about it, or is it a surprise?
Okay, well, just in a nutshell, what it's about is that we are in such a highly polarized place that people have stopped listening to each other. They're going down the rabbit holes. They're only taking in the information that, they already agree with. There's confirmation bias. There's a lot of yelling going on. So I'm picking some controversial subjects that I have an opinion on, a strong opinion, but I'm willing to keep my mind open and to listen to a guest and have a respectful, in-depth conversation with the guest without screaming at each other, and then get to the end of it and have a discussion with my producer about how I was able to move my yardsticks, what changed my mind about what I heard from that person. Because I feel like we have to stay curious, we have to stay open-minded, or we're all in trouble, because the world can't cleave into two. I mean, we all need to be on this earth together and get along. And I think that starts with listening and with respect and with curiosity.
I love it. Where will you draw the line on crazy?
Oh, geez, you know what? I mean, we're being careful about the guests because we don't want to pick someone who's just known for being a hothead. We don't want that kind of conversation, but we're also not picking guests that would already agree with things that I think, because the point of it is to be open-minded enough to take in new information, to consider it and go, okay, I didn't change my mind about that, but I now see this perspective, and that gives me a better understanding of why people feel that way. So it's just about trying to take people on a journey, a respectful journey, a conversation that has the ability to potentially open your mind and change your mind so that we can all kind of get a little bit closer together instead of farther apart.
I love it. As a legendary broadcaster, I know you don't need my suggestions for your guest roster, but maybe episode 1, Daryl Katz on why you should crank up prices 20% year after year after year.
I'll be 75 before he agrees to come on.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, it would be impossible for us to adore you more. Congratulations on the new pod. Let us know when it launches, and we'll throw everything we have behind it. We love our conversations with you. Real talkers are saying the exact same thing in our live chat en masse. Thanks for doing this, Lynda.
Thanks so much for having me. It's always fun to chat with you guys.
It's always the best. That is Lynda Steele, a longtime and legendary award-winning news anchor, talk radio host, podcaster, media trainer. You can learn more about what she does at cleanandsteel.ca. We'll link to that in the show notes if you want to connect with Lynda directly. If you're like an executive or someone that does public speaking as part of your gig, if you work in government relations, nobody does it better than her. And you can connect with her there.
It's not lost on me that it sounds like a 70s detective show as well.
Change my mind.
Clean and Steel, get in here.
Oh, Clean and Steel. Yeah.
Get in here. Get into my office.
Well, and her business partner, Mike Clean, also this is basically for people that may be watching this, if you're in Alberta, Saskatchewan, Ontario, Manitoba, wherever you are, these are like two of Western Canada's most well-known news anchors over the past 30 years. So for them to come together in private enterprise, I think was really neat.
A friend just texted me and said, ooh, she's got a new podcast. I love her.
Yeah. Tony says it sounds like her model is a little bit like Real Talk. And I was kind of thinking that as Lynda, I mean, obviously she'll put her own stamp on it. It'll be its own thing. But I feel like we do, to a certain degree, the same sort of thing where we'll bring people in from diverse perspectives and have them argue their case in a reputable, moderated forum. But that was why I asked her the question is like, where will you draw the line on crazy?
Yeah.
Because you can bring on full-blown lunatics and ratings would probably be pretty good, but I don't know that the audience ends up, or the host, any further ahead.
But sometimes
it could be more divisive than productive?
I think it's majority of the time it's productive. I mean, we just had our good friend. I'm going to say this all the time since the Cord Blund and W. Brett Wilson thing. Brett Wilson on, right? You guys got a little heated at the end. He said, "Hey, we're great friends, whatever." We've had David Parker on, crazy on X.
Jeff Raff.
Get a microphone and get him on Zoom. He sounded pretty sensible. He was, you know what I mean? So I think people calm down a little bit. You get them on a show, you get them comfortable, you get on Zoom, you get their face there instead of like chatting back and forth on social media. And not that I agree with David Parker or anything, but that interview in itself, I was like, this is a David Parker I've never heard from before. So you get a chance to see a side of
You mean because he came across as reasonable?
Well, he's just he was just very calm in his answers and very articulated and not screaming at the top of his lungs like he was on X.
I have shared several times that my regret from that interview is that at no point did I say, I mean, I don't know how you say this respectfully, but something along the lines of "you're not coming across as crazy as I thought you would." I think probably a more gentle way to say it would be, "Gosh, David, you're on your best behavior this morning." That would be another way to do it. But I think, people are careful, just like Pierre Poilievre was careful. I'm not comparing, I'm just saying Poilievre was careful on Rogan, and that's oftentimes not the worst.
Yeah. Was he careful, or again, maybe this is just
careful.
A symptom of Carney? I feel like Carney has turned the volume down just a little.
Yeah.
I mean, texting with the opposition leader and just again, I want to see the thread. I have to somebody leak a thread of this text message between.
We'll see if we can find it, and we'll give it to our Patreon supporters.
Like
How's
when they're in the vicinity, is he like, "Hey, you want a Starbucks, bruh?" Or,
Shout out to our new Patreon supporters, by the way. We've got an interesting influx of you showing your support, and we sure appreciate that. You can go to RyanJesperson.com, click on Connect, and learn more about the benefits of supporting the show on Patreon. In our live chat, Ben is 100% correct. And Ben Demon Hunter says people have stopped talking to one another. There's all this name calling. It's like we're in grade 3 in the sandbox. We're throwing sand at each other. He says it's not very respectful. Ben, to a certain degree, I 100% agree with you. And I think that there's been a lot of polarizing stuff happening lately, right? Like, if you sort of go back pre-pandemic, obviously not everybody got along. Obviously you still had like the fuck Trudeau flags and you still had all that kind of stuff. There was obviously big issues. I remember the golf tournament. Was it the Brooks Oilman tournament or whatever it was, where they had the Rachel Notley signs out on the driving range. And if you hit Notley, you won a prize. I mean, there was all that kind of stuff happening. Justin Trudeau's socks and his hair and the blackface and everything. I'm not saying that wasn't an issue.
How dare you, style?
But, so it's not, I guess my point is I'm not going to pretend like pre-COVID, what would it have been, like February, March of 2020, that everything was, perfect. No. It definitely wasn't. But you've had, several sort of very polarizing things happen. The pandemic was a big one. It was a huge one. I think that the Trump presidency and the second one, the January 6th stuff, was a huge one. And then everything else, you look around and it divides people. Even I'm watching a fascinating I don't know if I would put the Israel-Hamas war or the assault on Gaza in that same category, but even watching, I don't know if you've seen people changing their tune, but like Joe Rogan and Tucker Carlson within the last week have both just come at Israel in big ways. Yeah. And this is representing, and sorry to be Captain Obvious here, but a major shift in public commentary when Republicans, or when Donald Trump in particular is losing the support, and that's not even to mention like Marjorie Taylor Greene and all the others, Johnny, that you've pointed out in past. Yeah. I think that it's something that it indicates kind of a shift in public thinking, and it's very interesting to watch.
Yeah, and some of it, I want to make sure I'm clear, some of it borders on anti-Semitism.
Semitism,
yeah,
of course,
and sorry. And some of it actually is anti-Semitism. But, I do realize there is a flip. All these guys in the manosphere, all these guys around Joe Rogan, all these people who boosted Trump up, who got him in the White House, those guys on social media, they're all kind of like, it's funny, though. They're like, oh, my God, grocery prices didn't go down. Wars were started when he said he was going to be the president of peace, all these things, right? But back to what you just said, I do think, there have been a lot of dividing things, especially since COVID, but I think there have been things lately that have drawn Canadians back together. And one of those, the main point, is Carney. He's kind of calmed the waters just a bit. Again, 7.5 out of 10. He hasn't brought the dial down past 5, but just a little. Him and Polyev kind of getting along, seeing them out after the school shooting and stuff like that, I think was a big thing where we could see that Canadian politicians genuinely care about the country together as a team. They're not always adversaries. And then, again, there were just some incidents like the Four Nations with Canada, and then, again, here with the Olympics. And then, obviously the Trump thing, it has kind of brought us all together to be like unified again. I'm not saying it's all kumbaya and everyone's holding hands, but there has been steps. There has been inroads that have brought us back together.
Yeah, for sure. And Don makes the same point, and that you just did, by the way. He says it's quite likely that Mark Carney and Pierre Poilievre connected on the flight out to Tumbler Ridge, and he says that's what adults do
100%
during times of crisis.
Well, they said their kids were around each other and everything.
We're not going to pretend like they're best pals and, that they're going to get along. Don't get me wrong. Pierre Poilievre would love to see Mark Carney flame out and get nothing done. I'm not saying that Pierre Poilievre is cheering against Canada. Obviously not. But he would rather be the one doing the job. Right? I mean, that's obvious.
Yes, but he said on Rogan, I don't care whose name's on the door as long as the policies I want are in place.
Bullshit.
And I was like,
bullshit.
Okay, buddy, this is farther than humble I've ever heard someone talk in their life. But yeah, that made me. You would never hear this kind of stuff in the States from politicians. You would never hear them holding hands like this.
Yeah.
So I liked it. But
although back in the day, I'm not saying I'm like pining or yearning for the days of like Ross Perot and those guys, but like you would watch even like back when, sort of John Turner, Brian Mulroney, like that sort of era. And before that, I mean, you can go back to the 60s and you can see debates. There's even like, there's famous moments like JFK or Nixon or like they're where they show, you can find these clips online where it will show them not an attitude of deference, but an attitude of respect to their political opponents.
Agree.
And
I think
there's one famous
that.
Kennedy quote where he basically, I'm going to butcher it, but basically says something along the lines of like, we both, the spirit of the comment is like, we both want the best for our country. We just have different visions on how to get it there.
100%.
And, I think that there's more of an appetite for that in the public. Right?
And again, it goes back to Trump and the rhetoric in the States right now. Could you see anyone from Trump's team texting or communicating with Harris or Biden or whatever Democratic nominee comes up next camp? Like the doors are all shut. It's a steel vault, right? And I just love that Canada's politicians, they're texting with each other. They want Canada better, and if they have to work together, that's how they're going to do it. They should be working together. Isn't that what government was meant to do? Like, it was set up to be?
In theory.
Two teams who, one was the leader, but, the other guys were, support?
I mean, in theory, it's what you want, right? It's what's best for the public. It's what's best for everybody. Neola's in our live chat says civil discourse started disappearing with Trump in 2016. I mean, he is a great disruptor. Like political, when you say someone deserves credit, that's not always a compliment, right? So I will say he does deserve credit for turning politics upside down. Nobody. And I'm open to correction on this. And Real Talkers, if you correct me in a compelling way and I agree, I will send you a brand new Real Talk mug, a pair of Real Talk socks, and Real Talk wooden matches. But nobody has disrupted politics in a bigger way in the last, post-World War II. Nobody has disrupted politics more than Donald Trump.
No,
no one's even close.
No, it's a no-brainer. He's
yeah. Whiterim is, and I'm not saying this in glib or light fashion. I'm not trying to make light of this, Johnny. I want to play something here from my computer here.
Sure.
But Whiterim always says he's saying every single word except genocide. Whiterim really, it's important to Whiterim, and that's fine. I'm not mocking. I'm just saying Whiterim. It's very important to Whiterim that people use the word genocide. I thought that this was a very interesting comment from Tucker Carlson just a short time ago. This is within the last day. Here's Tucker Carlson on Israel.
So the idea that they've killed tens of thousands of women and children, non-combatants, accidentally is a lie. No, they murdered them. It's just a fact. You can call it whatever you want. Genocide. Everyone's all, it's genocide. Okay, it doesn't matter what you call it. That's murder. You're killing people on purpose. And yet, for over 2 years, Israel has murdered tens of thousands of children on purpose, and then locked the doors of Gaza, shot dozens and dozens and dozens of journalists so no one can film what's happening, and just leveled the place so they can move the people out and take it. What's the justification for that? What's the excuse? Well, of course, there isn't one.
That's Tucker Carlson on Israel. And Joe Rogan essentially said the same thing. Now, I'm not suggesting that these two are the voice of record when it comes to American history. However, when it comes to who greatly shapes and greatly influences the minds of Republicans, small C conservatives in the United States, and in particular younger people, and certainly men.
For sure.
Tucker Carlson and Joe Rogan are literally at the top of the list.
Yes. And I do want to always start by saying this. There is this manosphere vibe of anti-Semitism. So it borders on that. But you are noticing everyone across the board now is kind of like, things are kind of out of control. This is... What's going on in the Middle East is kind of like, it's like a cartel gathering up all their riches. I mean, we're talking about gas prices today, and the thing in my head that I've been thinking, and now people are writing about it as well, is this an OPEC takeover? I mean, you've got huge U.S. influence with the help of Israel now in Kuwait, Iraq, Venezuela, soon to be Iran. That's a third of OPEC. I mean, the U.S. is going to basically run OPEC if they get a couple more countries under their wings. So, I mean, and then you control global oil. So, I mean, this is this idea that they're freeing people from tyranny has a big question mark over it.
Denis in our chat says criticism of Israel is not always anti-Semitism. 100% true.
No,
and,
but that
we've talked about this a lot, though. Well, because there's for sure, and we've talked about this on the show. We talked about this last week as well, on how you see even Jews in Canada being targeted, like in many different centers. I mean, my personal friends who are Jewish, and it's interesting. Like, people will tell us things sometimes that I will hold in confidence because it would be irresponsible from a security standpoint to share it. But I will simply say that there are members of the Jewish community in Canada, in our cities, in our communities, that are taking steps to do everything they can to ensure the safety of their friends and family, because they don't feel that they're safe on Canadian soil. They feel targeted, and in many cases it's because swastikas are being painted on synagogues or on Jewish schools, or they're receiving bomb threats. Like, it's messed up, and Israel is not the same. The government of Israel or the IDF is not the same as Jewish people in Canada. That seems obvious. But you do need to, I would say this as well, respectfully, you do need to be able, the world needs to be able to be critical of Benjamin Netanyahu and Israel without being accused of being anti-Semitic. Let's get to this. I mean, while we're talking about it, we weren't planning on necessarily including it today, but I mean, so here's the other. I mean, I referenced Joe Rogan. Here's what he has to say about it.
Yeah, October 7th was awful. Absolutely.
Obviously.
Terrible attack. But also, what they've done to Gaza is fucking insane.
It's insane.
And if you can't see that, if you can't say that, and your response is, Israel has the right to defend itself. Like, what are you talking about? Against what? Children?
Right.
Against women and children that are getting blown apart? Against aid workers that are getting killed?
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about? Like, we can't have a rational conversation if you're not willing to address that.
Yeah. I think their heart is hardened from the October 7, what they saw there. Their heart is hardened. And I think a lot of people, especially on the Republican side, they're unable to see the Palestinians as humans,
right.
Especially as people with emotions and feelings and all of that. And
like, imagine if that was happening in Scandinavia,
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's very strange.
So there you have it. That's a portion, obviously, of a recent conversation with Joe Rogan, and I'm not sure why fleur-de-lis was underneath it. But
this is me just ping-ponging with you, going back and forth, devil's advocate. I think if something like October 7th happened here in Canada, we would never stop trying to avenge it. You know what I mean? So I understand what is happening over there, right? But I think we've all seen just the destruction of Gaza, where we're like, when is enough?
Yeah, I mean, it gets to the point, and then, you see Israel's actions that are running concurrent as well. I'm not an international policy expert. I don't know if you've noticed, those of you that are regular tuners to the show, we really appreciate. I really do try to stay in my lane, and I'm not going to try to pretend like I'm some expert in Middle Eastern history. And we do endeavor to connect with the experts and get those reputable perspectives. But I would say, just as a layperson, like just as an average person with common sense that can observe the world around me, it doesn't help. Where most people may land on this and how most people may perceive it, to see Israel's aggression elsewhere as well, like bombing the hell out of Lebanon, bombing the hell out of Iran. It's just, it appears to be kind of this almost, imperialistic type venture where Israel's trying to basically secure as much land as it possibly can. And some of that may rub some of you the wrong way, but I'm not wrong. Like it or not, I'm not wrong. Ambustion, thank you for your YouTube channel membership, says Palestine's been an open-air prison for decades. You can't talk about Islamic fundamentalism without bringing up us meddling, helping it fester, especially in Iran. If you missed our Real Talk Roundtable on Iran a short time ago, I thought that was really powerful stuff, including our friend Nuran Ostadian, who joined us on that, Johnny, and talked about her personal experience. She is of the vintage, 10, 11 years old, she's telling us, when the Iranian Revolution was happening and her family leaves. And I mean, just the perspective that she has, and that the three of our panelists shared on where their families are at, and people that they know and love are still over there in Iran. And this impacts people on a daily basis and on a regular basis. And, I'm grateful that we have an audience that's here for the conversations, and we endeavor to continue to have those in meaningful fashion and in real ways that resonate, that are credible, where you feel like your perspectives are properly presented. You can send us an email anytime to talk@ryanjesperson.com if there's something you heard on the show that you'd like to respond to, or maybe something you've not heard on the show that you think we need to be talking more about. That's where you can find us. Friends, if you love the Oilers, if you love poker, and if you love contributing to your community, I want to invite you to join us on the 16th and 17th of April in support of the Ben Stelter Foundation. This is the Hearts and Hands Poker Tournament coming up. This is going to be a good one at the Yellowhead Pure Casino. 2 days, up to $50,000 in cash and prizes available. That final table is going to be the evening of April 17th for all you high rollers. Everybody at the final table is going to get a custom champion ring. I love that. I'm going to be there on the 16th. I hope I can stick around for final table. Either way, the money that we contribute as we register, you with me, Real Talkers, at benstelterfoundation.com, all the proceeds are going to go toward bringing the Ben Stelter Center for Proton Therapy and Neuroscience to Edmonton. This will make sure that families have access to world-class cancer treatment closer to home. It's a remarkable initiative. We're going to learn more about it coming up on the 27th of March here on the show. But you can register to play in the Hearts and Hands Poker Tournament today by visiting benstelterfoundation.com. Got a lot of love for our friends at Park Power, if you hadn't noticed. An incredible family-owned business providing internet, electricity, and natural gas across the province. They're your friendly local utilities provider. Amazing service, and you're going to pay a little bit less. Compare rates today at parkpower.ca. They're so confident you're going to love what you see. There's no commitments. You can cancel or change your rate anytime. No exit fees. I love that swagger. If you want to see some promo codes available exclusively to Real Talkers, go to parkpower.ca/realtalk. Find out how you can save up to $150 off your first bill when you bundle internet, electricity, and natural gas. Again, that's parkpower.ca/realtalk. Boy, did we got a lot of feedback from our Real Talk Roundtable just this past Friday. That was the 20th of March. As we celebrate, it's Women's Health Research Month. Maybe I'll say observe, Johnny, because there was some wake-up calls through the course of that roundtable. You can check it out online on our YouTube channel or wherever you get your podcasts. You're looking for the episode titled Albertans Want Access, Women's Health Equity. And the reality is that women continue to be underserved and underrepresented in healthcare. So let's say we observe Women's Health Research Month, and we're doing everything that we can, including that roundtable, to make sure that this issue is on everybody's radar. If you'd like to learn more about women's health research in Canada, and in particular the work being done by the Alberta Women's Health Foundation, you can find them online. That's albertawomenshealthfoundation.org. If you're inclined to make a donation, you can check out give to awhf.org. That's give to awhf.org. When women's health moves forward, so does our economy. And there's some really fascinating statistics and insights on that website. Again, that's albertawomenshealthfoundation.org. And finally, Johnny, we want to save everybody a little bit of time today. If you're going to be hosting family and friends over the Easter holidays, or any holiday for that matter, we want to recommend the amazing team at Friesen Brothers, and in particular, the catering teams. They're really proud of their Red Seal chefs, and they should be. If you go to the website, friesen.com, you can always just pop in store as well. 16 locations across the province. You'll see they've got their Easter dinner boxes there. You got the classic Easter dinner box, the signature Easter meal, which I highly recommend. They have vegan options as well.
Yes.
That signature meal, you guys, stress-free holiday eats for 6 people for $2.39 plus GST. You pop it in the oven, you enjoy company with family and friends, and then you serve it hot and ready. That includes roasted turkey, scalloped potatoes, they'll blow your mind, creamy dill carrots, granny stuffing, Caesar salad, tray buns, cranberry sauce, turkey gravy, and apple crumble pie.
Stop!
You can order until April 9th at cateringbyfriesen.com.
This is my favorite time of the year every year, because these guys, like you and me, we go ahead. I order the plant-based one every year. You order the normal one for your family.
I get them to load me up.
And the funniest thing is, these guys bring us by one each anyways, like 2 days before Easter. So we eat it here in the studio. We try to give some away to friends and fam who are in and around here. Then we go home and eat it again. I cannot wait for 2 weeks from now to just be 268 pounds.
I love it. I love it.
Of Friesen Bros.
By the way, we have Noob Try Again checking in our chat. He says Friesen Brothers make such amazing food. Noob let us know he does home inspections, and he sends us the odd update. He'll pop into it if he's in like Fort Saskatchewan or Stony Plain or Rabbit Hill down in South Edmonton. Pop into Friesen Brothers, grab a quick lunch there. I'm always recommending to him the beef short rib, the braised beef short rib. You're not going to find a better meal for under $20 in the city of Edmonton. I'll tell you that right now.
And if you're unaware, Friesen Bros has like little restaurant area in there.
Oh yeah, it's amazing.
You can grab a
fireplace,
you can grab a meal, and you can
beer.
sit there and just eat before or after you shop.
Yeah. We wanted to follow up on one story before we wrap. This is not the biggest story in the world, but if you're a geek or a nerd like us and you are immersed in politics, you just can't help yourself. You've likely been hearing the rumblings about the Golden Cat.
The Golden Cat!
We have been approaching this story with due diligence and caution, because the last thing you want is Alberta's #1 talk show leading you astray with unverified facts. But it has been interesting, in particular, as brought up, as referenced in the House under privilege. You guys know what this means, right? So MLAs, politicians, when they're in the legislature, when they're in session, they can say they have privilege, and that means that they can say things in the legislature that they cannot say without risk of getting sued outside. And that's why a lot of times you hear politicians, when the odd time a politician will say something like, "Why don't you say that outside this house?" They're not inviting them out for a bar fight. That's not like, "Why don't you meet me in the parking lot? Why don't you meet me in the bike racks and say it to my face?" That's not what they're saying. But politicians will say, "Well, why don't you say that outside this house?" And what they're alluding to is that they believe that would be libel or that would be slander, right? So Naheed Nenshi invokes the privilege of the House, and as he's talking in the legislature the other day, he talks about the premier receiving, he's talking about her trip to Saudi Arabia. Danielle Smith wants security clearance. If you missed it, check out our Supriya Dwivedi interview from one episode previous. That's the 23rd of March. Supriya had the top-level national security clearance. She's been through the process. She talks to us about it. She talks about Daniel Smith wanting to get it, Pierre Poilievre not wanting to get it. Interesting insights. That's our March 23rd episode. But then she's talking about Daniel Smith wanting national security clearance and saying basically, you're in bed with the Saudis, right? He's like, you've accepted hundreds of thousands of dollars in gifts. And what he means by that is private jets, 7-star hotels, red carpet treatment. He says that in the Middle East is worth hundreds of thousands of dollars.
But that pales in comparison if this is a solid gold cat.
So, and then he says, and then he slipped in the line about the golden cat. And then that got everybody talking. And then they saw the photo, which everybody believes is from the McDougall Center down in Calgary. It would make sense. Daniel Smith, the premier, is meeting with Calgary's Mayor Jeremy Farkas, who, by the way, is going to be up here in our studio on the 17th of April alongside Edmonton's Mayor Andrew Knack. And there in the background is this so-called golden cat. And so then you've got podcasters and I don't want to say conspiracy theorists because it sounds like I'm being dismissive. I don't blame anybody for being cynical around politicians these days, but it starts to take off on like Reddit and on social media.
Oh, there's hashtags already.
But there's a whole accounts around it, but nobody's like it's unverified up until now. And now the premier's, whether you believe him or not, the premier's chief of staff, Rob Anderson, former Wild Rose MLA from back in the day, has posted just last night to all of those Nenshi followers who buy your tinfoil in bulk. Here are the facts around your latest conspiracy theory about the now infamous cat sculpture. Claims Mr. Anderson. Number one, the sculpture is worth a few $100s and is made of copper, not gold. 2, it was gifted to the people of Alberta by Saudi Arabia's energy minister, who was attending the World Petroleum Conference in Calgary 3 years ago. In other words, it was not presented during her international journey. 3, it was not a personal gift to the premier. It's being displayed at the premier's office at the McDougall Center in Calgary out of respect for a country we're developing an important and growing trade relationship with. 4, as Nenshi doesn't understand because he has never nor will he ever be premier, the exchange of gifts with foreign dignitaries is a regular part of international diplomacy, as a gesture of friendship, economic partnership, and peaceful relations. Goes on to say Nenshi's disrespect for foreign trading partners, I don't know about that, is yet more proof of his complete unfitness to lead. And I want to express my, this is a great line, I want to express my unwavering support for his continued leadership of the Alberta NDP. That from Rob Anderson. So there you have it. It's the copper cat. So they say.
No, I was just.
Everybody was excited because people were doing the math and they're saying if that thing is 12 to 18
gold
inches,
is $5,000 US.
People are going, that's worth $500,000.
Yeah, it's insane. So
it would be insane for the premier to accept the gift if it was true.
Yesterday, I said, she's not this. I'm not going to call our premier dumb or stupid, but she's not. She's intelligent. There's no way she would bring something solid gold like that, like worth millions of dollars into an office and place it there on display. It's just ridiculous. But
I love this.
We enjoyed Golden Cat, the hashtag, while it lasted. It was a great ride for 48 hours.
Yeah, this is from Super Chat. Ken says, folks, don't overreact. I'm sure the cat is chocolate inside.
That's a great Easter
imagine?
Coming up. Let's crack
It's
it
hot
open.
in the McDougall Center. The air conditioning shuts down and it just starts to wilt. Goramu says they took the gold one home, replaced it with a cheap copper replica. There you go. And Bustion wondering why couldn't Premier say all of this the first or second or third time it was brought up. My guess would be just if her comms advisors, her team were probably like, this isn't something you need to chime in on and don't dignify conspiracy theories with a response. As a politician or as any public figure, the decisions on what you will not respond to are equally as important as the decisions on things you will respond to and how you respond, right? 80s Fanify says, I'm sure that cat needs to be in all high-level meetings. I did see someone with the theory, Johnny, that the cat could be mic'd up, that there could be
Oh, like a little Saudi.
Like a little mic, a little Saudi bug.
Saudi infiltration.
Well, because there's apparently these little jewels, whether they're real or fake.
We would like you to put this in your office.
We would like you as close to your phone as possible.
It brings good luck when you're doing Zoom calls.
It's good. It's tradition. We put these as close to our electronics as we possibly can. Plain Power says copper's not that cheap. Go to Home Depot and find copper tubing and see how much you can buy for a few hundred. Lauren says it's a hollow bunny, just like her promises. And Dwayne says it sounds like an Agatha Christie novel, Danielle and the Golden Cat.
I've seen some pretty lustry hashtags as well. I'm not going to say the one that I saw.
Yeah, maybe we want to get her back on the show.
But
Ken K says it's the Trojan Cat. I love that.
I love it. I think if this, obviously they've sorted it out now. It's copper, whatever. So now I hope we can laugh about this. I can believe, but I'm glad he directly spoke about it online. But I think it's great because now next scrum, I wonder if the question will come up and be like, hey, so how's the Copper Cat doing? I guess that's a new hashtag, Copper Cat.
Yeah. We've had politicians, though, in here. I would never say who they were, although I should say who they are because they deserve the credit. But we have a good time in here in our studio. We're social people, and a lot of times, especially courtesy of some of our partners, we have cool things to give away. And, like sometimes that'll be like a neat bottle of whiskey from our friends at Hanson Distillery, or we have gifts that we have made personally in very small batches, like Real Talk merch that's personalized and customized and something that we invest in and gift. And we have had politicians in the studio that have off camera that have declined the gifts, John. And I'm not surprised by that. I think for a lot of elected officials, it's not worth it. And so, I think for the majority of them, they'll accept like the they go to the, big brothers, big sisters, and they give them like a toque and a pen. Like they'll keep that and they'll proudly wear it and they'll support the organization. But, if you're talking about politicians, like the perks of the job, there's comments in here that are very accurate. For example, I would agree, like with Plain Power, who says either way, whether it's copper, gold, whatever, it doesn't look good. It's just like Jason Kenney having scotch on the balcony of the Sky Palace or MLAs going to Hawaii during COVID restrictions. Others of you saying, it doesn't necessarily need to be the cat, right? Others of you are saying, the flights and the hotel accommodations and the meetings is much worse than the cat, which may be true as well. And then, I would acknowledge too, and I'm not trying to obfuscate this, but, you also want your politicians, your elected representatives, participating in advocacy and diplomacy and relationship building and being connected with the people. I shared in our most recent episode the personal conversation I had with Premier and then later on the show on camera about, meeting with NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman. We don't want, I don't think, do we? Maybe you feel differently than me, which is fine. We don't want our politicians precluded from or limited from participating in important conversations that could have a dramatic effect on the economy. And so when it comes to should the Alberta Premier be talking to other jurisdictions where energy and in particular oil and gas is the driving force behind their economy, probably or perhaps. But then you listen to how Nenshi frames it, and he says there she is accepting gifts, hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of gifts from our biggest competitor. And I go, oh gosh, that's an interesting way to spin it as well, right? So I don't know. Wherever you land, Real Talkers, on this gray area, let us know. We can get to more of these. I suspect that we may get some submissions on the Golden Copper Cat for the flamethrower, which will be coming up on Friday, presented by the DQs of Northwest Edmonton and Sherwood Park.
I can't wait for the thumbnail. And a reminder to Real Talkers, we here at Real Talk accept all gifts.
We do accept all gifts. And we have no gift limit.
None.
So if you would like to gift us something obscenely expensive.
Solid gold.
We may have to add a couple more deadbolts to our doors.
We'll bury it, and in 10 years, we'll buy our own island.
That would be it. Goramu says they've got really comfy Real Talk socks that they are wearing with pride. Goramu says, I was not bribed, but if you don't like the live stream, you may get a close-up experience. Give this show a like, everybody. That from Goramu. I couldn't help but notice Goramu was advocating for people in the chat to like our episodes. You guys have no idea how far that goes when you like our episode. If everybody watching or listening right now were to just like the episode, it would pop. It would go crazy. And so we thanked Goramu and threw a pair of Real Talk socks in the mail for him. You never know. Wood matches. If you are a Patreon supporter, you know the drill as well. We sure appreciate you. Johnny, we're going to wrap because we got business to take care of. We got a lot coming. And of course, Real Talkers, at the end of the day, this is all about you. We appreciate everything you do to help us grow this show, and we want to know how you think we're doing. Lynda gives the PM a B+. What do you think of Lynda on the show today? What do you think about us? Let us know what you'd love to see. Email us anytime. We really mean it. Talk@RyanJesperson.com. Make it a great day. We'll see you again in 22 hours.
Real Talk is hosted by Ryan Jesperson. Executive producer Josh Dunford. Technical producer John Hicks. General manager Katie Cook-Chivers. Account coordinator Lawrence Derlego. Human resources Lena Shepard. Website design Mike Johnston. Voiceover by me, Carrie Skelton. Member Emerita Julie Rohr. Real Talk is recorded in Edmonton, Alberta on Treaty 6 territory, the traditional and ancestral territory of the Cree, Dene, Blackfoot, Saulteaux, and Nakota Sioux, home to the Métis settlements and the Métis Nation of Alberta. Real Talk is a relay project. For more, check out RyanJesperson.com.